Don't take it personal, I ain't lying, I ain't hiding, I've been grinding, multiplying.
Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you guys how to draft a pattern with the Lutterloh pattern system. I'm showing you the materials you'll need to do this. And you'll also need two measurements, the bust and the hip, but we're only going to be using the hip measurement today since we're drafting pants. So here I'm showing you the pattern number we're using. We have 30 and 31, that Z indicates pants. When you flip it over, you see the pattern diagrams, and you have your front pant, your pocket, your back pant, with the corresponding length lines, the X where you'll put your thumbtack, and your waistband. I'm going to be drafting the back pant. So here I folded the paper just to focus on the back pant. I'm taking the provided measuring tape and I'm putting my thumbtack in the 140. That means that the client measured 140 centimeters on the hips. She did measure more than that, but that's the highest on this tape, so I'm just going to start there and then alter after I draft. I am anchoring the thumbtack down to that X marks the spot. And before you anchor the actual pattern down, you just want to check around the pattern. All you're doing is lining the measuring tape up against that line, and that number that's on the line, you're going to go to that number on your measuring tape and put a dot on the same side the number's on. You're going to go all around the pattern piece. That's how you draft the pattern. But here I'm just checking the longest numbers to see if there's enough space, and so it wasn't, so I moved it down a little bit to make sure there'll be enough space. So now when I check that 33, I can actually get to 33. And so I'm just checking the bigger numbers around the pattern piece to ensure that there's enough space. So now we're at the bottom of hem. I'm checking to make sure I can get to 65.5. And you can see that I can. And so we're good. So now I'm going to go ahead and anchor the pattern piece down with some tape. I recommend anchoring it on the edges of the pattern paper just in case it rips. So now that I've anchored it down, I'm just going to start drawing my dots. Again, you're just lining the top of the measuring tape up to that corresponding line and dot, and then you're going to mark at the number that's indicated on the line. You'll go all around the pattern piece, typically clockwise is what I like to do. And again, you're marking your dot on the same side of the tape as the number that you're corresponding on the pattern piece. You just want to go all the way around. And ensure that you're holding the tape taut when you are putting it up against the line to make your dot. If you have any lumps or bumps, it's going to take away from the pattern. And so I'm removing the tape now, and I'm going to start connecting my dots. So now we're going to draw in that crotch seam with the French curve ruler. Now I'm drawing it in the front of the waist. I'm drawing in my dart dots. And again, I'm just corresponding that to the picture. Just connecting the dots based on where they were on the picture. Now we're at the hip curve, and I am going to use the straight side of my French curve to draw the remaining pieces of the pattern. And as you can see, it's beginning to look just like the pattern piece on the picture. Very easy, guys. All this from a hip measurement. So now we're done with that. That is our back pants pattern. So of course, like I mentioned, my client will require some alterations. So I'm going to be checking some measurements on the measurements I took from the client and making my adjustments before I put my seam allowance on. So here I am checking the inseam. I noticed that the inseam is a little shorter than what the client had, so I am going to mark the length longer on each side and then draw that new line for the hemline. And now I'm going to be checking the outer seam. And we're good to go there. And now I'm checking the waist on each side of the dart and ensuring that that is enough. And I noticed it was a little short, so I'm adding 1.5 inches on each side because it was 3 inches short. So 1.5 inches on each side to equal it out, and then just draw in that new waistline. And now I've removed the pattern piece and I cut off the excess paper at the bottom of the pattern. And so now we're going to begin drawing in our seam allowance. So all I do is go back to those exact same dots I connected and mark out an inch from the original dot to give myself an inch of seam allowance. I'm using an inch because we're going to be using a woven fabric with just a little bit of stretch. So I'd rather have too much seam allowance than not enough. So we're just going to go all back around the pattern. And then I'm going to redraw in my lines all around the pattern to indicate the seam allowance. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and stay tuned for future tutorials and how this pair of pants comes out after I create it. Bye.
Don't take it personal, I ain't lying, I ain't hiding.